Hi, welcome to Washoe County Library's favorite family cookies. My name is Jennifer and I work at the South Valleys Library, and I would like to share with you my Grammy Pauline's butterscotch cookie recipe. This was always my very favorite cookie as a kid, made by my very favorite person. So I really hope you enjoy it. First, I'm going to go over the ingredients in the recipe. So we have half a cup of butter softened, 1.5 cups of brown sugar, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, 2 eggs at room temperature, 1 cup of evaporated milk, but half and half works as well, a teaspoon of vinegar. I'm using white vinegar, but apple cider vinegar works fine, 2.5 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, a half teaspoon of salt, and a half cup of finely chopped nuts. Nuts are optional, and you can use any type that you like. I'm using walnuts today. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to preheat our oven to 350. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to cream together the butter, sugar, vanilla, eggs in a large mixing bowl. So let's put in our softened butter, our brown sugar, and our vanilla and eggs. And we're going to mix this until it's creamy. Okay. And then the next step is to sift together flour, the baking soda, the baking powder, and the salt. And sifting your ingredients really just makes the cookies really tender and light. So you really want like a cakey, tender texture. Finally, we are going to mix together the evaporated milk and the vinegar. And then we are going to alternate adding some of the flour mixture and the milk mixture in alternating steps until they're combined. Okay, so let's do a scoop of this, mix that in, and we're gonna add a little bit of this, and a little bit more of this. Want to make sure each step is pretty well combined before you add the next. Just a little bit more flour. And the last of the milk. I'm going to scrape down the bowl. Then the very, very last step before we put them on the pan is to mix in the nuts if you're using them. And we'll just fold those in. So then we're going to put them on the cookie. So either use an ungreased sheet or I like to use parchment just because it's easier to clean up in the end. And I have this convenient little scoop, but you're wanting to make them about a teaspoon each, about 2 inches apart. I like the scoop because you get a consistent amount every time. And this should make about 3 dozen cookies. Okay, there we have our cookies, and we are going to put them in the oven at 350 and bake them for 10 to 12 minutes. Okay, time to take the cookies out. They are just barely starting to brown on the edges, but are still pretty pale. We don't want them to get too dark because then they get too tough and crispy on the bottom. So these are ready to come out. While my cookies are cooling, I'm gonna make my butterscotch frosting or glaze. So I'm gonna put in a saucepan over medium heat. I'm gonna put a half cup of butter, and I'm gonna cook it until it stops bubbling and turns an amber brown. This process takes a little while, probably 5 minutes or so, but you want to watch it because it can burn really quickly. So you want to, when it starts to get that amber brown is when you want to take it off the heat. Then you're going to add 2 cups of powdered sugar and a 1/4 cup of cold water, and you're going to beat it until it's smooth. And that's all there is to make the butterscotch glaze. The final step after you have made your glaze is to then glaze or frost the cookies. So we're just going to put a little bit of the glaze on the cookie, spread it around, and then let that set up. So once it sets, you have your lovely glazed butterscotch cookie that I just know your family is going to love. So thank you so much for joining me, and don't forget to check out the Washoe County Library's website, washoecountylibrary.us, for upcoming virtual events and library information. Thank you so much. Happy holidays. Miss you, Graham.